What's up, guys? It's Paul here from the 95 Investors Club channel. In this video, I wanted to share with you some of the stocks that I'm watching for this week, what potential plays or key levels that I'm watching for, as well as my general thoughts on the stock market with everything that's going on in the news. Okay, so first off, we have TAN here. I mentioned TAN several times before. This is the best way to take advantage of a shift towards renewable source of energy, which leading source of renewable source of energy is going to be solar energy for sure. There have been a lot of reports that have come out recently that by 2025, solar energy is going to be the leader of renewable source of energy, and renewables itself will start taking more and more of a market share compared to oil and gas. Okay, so definitely make sure you have TAN. I think they're worth holding shares for the long term for several years. But I also play a lot of calls or spreads on them even on the short term. But in recent price action, we saw that they corrected a pretty decent bit after shooting up like crazy. They legged up here about 2 weeks ago. They shot up very quickly to almost $124, $125, and they finally corrected back and filled this gap that we missed here during the leg up. I'm really expecting $107 to be a support watch, so watch out for it. If they don't, they have a little more room to drop here down to 102, but I really think $107 should be a pretty strong support going forward now that we filled this gap. Previously, it acted as a resistance several times, as you can see, 3 or 4 times here. So I'm definitely expecting this to take as a support and start shooting back up. But if there's any chance for it to fall below, it would have more to do with volatility in the market itself regarding the inauguration, regarding Trump's trial, if there's more chaos at the White House, at the Capitol Hill, and all the stuff that's going on in the market right now. If that continues to happen and the whole market starts coming down, then obviously even TAN is going to come down with it, okay? But eventually, if some of the volatility works out this week and we start getting back into a smoother ride for next week, I think TAN should definitely start recovering from here, okay? Now, another ETF that I'm looking out for is ICLN. ICLN, as you can see here, also legged up pretty much around the same day as the TAN did. They shot up like crazy, most of it being led due to Plug Power. As you know, Plug Power has been an absolute tear ever since the merger news came out, and they shot up down to $45. They just haven't stopped and hit all the way to $70. And Plug Power being the leading asset allocation within ICLN shot up because of that. Okay, so now as Plug started coming down and correcting, which was as expected, even ICLN started coming down here. This gap still needs to be filled, so be aware of that. Make sure that you're prepared for it to drop down to 29.50, for example, and it may turn around after that. So watch out for ICLN. Even at these levels, it looks attractive. I have a couple of calls I averaged down on Friday, but I think a lot stronger support, which was previously a resistance here, can become a support here around 29.40, 29.50. So definitely watch out for ICLN. Another stock that I'm looking at is Facebook. Facebook has been beaten down quite a bit for a long time now. They hit all-time highs around 315 or so, quite a long while back, several months ago, back in August actually, surprisingly. So it's been a really long time. So we're back down to the 200-day moving average here around 248, 249. It recently bounced off of it around 244, 245, and we're slowly starting to recover. But the 200-day moving average usually tends to be one of the strongest supports, so definitely watch out for that. It's slowly starting to recover. Even on Friday, in fact, when the whole market was coming down, Facebook was the only one which was actually up 2.3%, okay? So watch out for a bit of a recovery. A lot of it has to do with the whole repeal of Section 230 that Trump has been after. Twitter was getting shot because of this. Facebook has been going down because of it. But if all that smoothens out and we don't have to deal with that drama anymore, with Biden taking a presidency after the inauguration and everything, I still think FB is going to start recovering because they're a very, very profitable company. And if you strictly look at it from a financial perspective, they have a huge growth runway ahead of them at the rate at which they are growing, okay? So definitely watch it for Facebook. I think at these levels, they're worth getting some long-term calls or spreads. I don't want to play anything short-term again because I'm still expecting a lot of volatility and eventually even a correction over the next couple of months. So if you want to go for calls or spreads, make sure they're several months out, and this would be a pretty good entry point and potentially worth averaging down if they do go down further, okay? Another stock that I'm watching is AVAL. AVAL also came down a pretty decent bit from their highs, over $184 here. Previously $150 acted as a pretty good support twice before. Even once here on 6th January was a pretty good support, and they slowly started recovering. They came down a little more on Friday with the whole market coming down, but watch out for Avalara. I think that if you don't know about Avalara, they offer a cloud-based tax solutions for e-commerce companies like Amazon, Shopify, any of these companies, where they automate the process of what kind of a tax they should charge depending on where the customer is located. Okay, so it's a single-handed way to take to play e-commerce where they have absolutely no competition. So they're worth holding shares even for the long term, not just as a short-term technical analysis. But definitely watch out for Avalara as well. I think if they do fall back down to 150, I think it'll be a great opportunity to get in on some calls on them. Okay. Another stock that I'm watching is NVDA. NVDA is coming down to one of the previous supports here around $504 that acted as a support recently and further back as well. So for watch out to see if NVIDIA can fall more down to 504. If it goes down further, I think they can go down to $500, where it's a stronger support in my opinion. But even at these levels, NVIDIA looks very attractive. They shot up recently but came back down again. This was probably because of the partnership with NEO that was announced on NEO Day. But watch it for NVIDIA. 514 looks pretty attractive to me. I picked up a couple of shares, but if you want to get calls, which I haven't yet, I would wait to see if they can come down a little more. But if they start recovering on Tuesday, I might consider getting some calls or spreads on it. But definitely watch out for it. Make sure you're still giving time, as with any other stock, because the market, there's so much uncertainty in the market still that needs to be resolved. Okay. One final stock that I'm watching, well actually there's two more, but yeah, one of the ones that I'm watching is Snowflake here. Snowflake also corrected quite a bit from 427 or 429, which was the all-time highs, and when they dropped to 267 recently, just 2 weeks ago, that was a great time to get in, but I actually missed my opportunity. But if they start recovering here and they turn this into a support, then definitely watch out for Snowflake as well. They're again a great stock to hold for the long term. So if they start recovering, start going back up, make sure you add Snowflake to your watch list. And finally, the last stock that I'm watching here is Clover Health. Clover Health, ever since the merger completed, they started coming back down quite a bit, similar to what happened with Opendoor after IPOB turned into Opendoor. So Clover looks very attractive here, even at $13. There's not a whole lot for them to fall from here, so definitely watch out for Clover. I picked up some calls for August, so giving myself a lot of time just in case there's further volatility in the short term. Okay, so these are the main stocks that I'm watching, guys. I hope that helps you out. Like I mentioned before, there's still expect a lot of volatility this week as well, especially because it's a short week. There's not going to be a whole lot of volume. In fact, one of the reasons I think that we saw sell-off on Friday is because this is going to be a short week. We have the inauguration, we have Trump's trial. There's just so much uncertainty that with stocks pretty much being at all-time highs, most of the stocks, I think a lot of people want to take their profits and kind of wait out this week. Okay, so this week, watch for volatility. There's likely going to be a lesser volume than normal. So if any calls that interest you, make sure you're giving it time. Don't do weeklies, go for a month, 2, 3 months at a time. Most of the calls that I've been getting that I mentioned in one of my previous videos have actually been on ETFs, because ETFs are going to correct a lot lesser than individual stocks. Okay, so my favorite ETFs to get calls on are ARKK, TAN, ICLN, ARKG, SPYG. All these are solid ETFs to potentially get calls or spreads on, especially if you give them a lot of time. Okay, so that's all I wanted to share with you guys here today. If you like this, please just smash that like button, leave a comment below if you have any questions, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell. Okay, thanks again for watching, and until next time.